Hey YouTube fans, Diekander here doing another action figure review, and today we are looking at the new for 2025 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1988 remastered 6-pack. So we're having a quick look at the box. Obviously the figures are not in the box, but the box is quite big, so I'm going to have to try and squidge it into my little review station. So even if I pull back here, you can see the back down here. So bear with me a moment while I see if I can zoom out a little bit and get the full box in shot. So this box is designed to replicate the look of the sewer layer playset. So in the background you have like the little bed area, you have one of the beds, you have a bunk bed area, and you have your sewer lid. The figures are obviously encased in this box, and I've already taken them out. There is it's just down here, it's just in the screen, there's a ladder that's supposed to go here. It was already loose on my copy. I ordered this from Target and they shipped it. So I believe it is a Target, in the States anyway, it's a Target exclusive. So far, any of the remastered stuff has not been released over here in Europe. Only the classics, the reissue classics have been. So if I pan across here, this area here is where Shredder is situated. So you get all 4 turtles plus Splinter and Shredder. So I believe Splinter was here. You've Raph here, or Raph was up here. I think Mikey, Raph, Leo, and Don, or Don and Leo. They're in. I'll try and grab a picture of them in box and just superimpose it here, so you can see what it looks like. But you have like Shredder in this corner. This little thing down here is supposed to represent the manhole lift from the original box. So I'm going to try and flip this box around without knocking everything. It is just barely fitting into this space, so I could end up with everything falling down. So if I flip around the back of the box, you get treated to some really cool artwork of the heroes in a half shell plus their master Splinter facing off against the evil Oroku Saki, aka Shredder. One thing I find interesting, you have this little sticker up here which says Uncle Shredder wants you. I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling this is a nod to James Avery. I think that's right. Yeah, James Avery. Now, if you're not familiar with James Avery, those of us who grew up in the 80s would recognize him as the voice of Shredder from the original cartoon. And what's interesting is, and this is going back as a nostalgia, James Avery was also famous for another famous role as an uncle in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he played Uncle Phil. So I'm wondering if the people who put this artwork and box together had this as a nod, kind of a subtle nod to Shredder being the same voice as Uncle Phil, which, you know, Uncle Shredder wants you. It is kind of cool. There is also a free turtle food called Mr. Bebop sticker, which is kind of cool in the corner. And then on the opposite side, you just have like a wet paint sign and things like that. It is interesting that the lid does correspond, if I can flip it down, to that Turtles playset. So you have that trapdoor thing, you have the opening manhole cover, and then you have like a whole bunch of kind of thing, and it's covered in ooze. So if we bring in how the first versions of those remasters, kind of classic turtle figures were done, you can see they did change up the box. It still has the classic Turtles logo, and it has the remastered branding. This is the 88 remastered Leonardo's box, but like on the back of the box it just showcased all the figures, and then had like artwork of the comics, from the comics, but with the bandana, color-coded bandanas. Because in the original comics, even though the original comics were black and white, the covers of the comics weren't, and on the covers of the comics, all the turtles had just all red bandanas similar to Raphael's, but because when the cartoon rolled around, they wanted kids to be able to distinguish between the different characters and the different turtles, so they decided to color code the turtles with different bandanas. And then when the figures came out, they ended up color coding the figures with slightly different variations of green skin tone for the actual turtles, which we will get into in a minute. So it even made them even more unique. Obviously you can see Donnie, Mikey, Leo, Raph, and then Splinter. They're pretty cool figures, so bear with me a moment. I'm going to move this out of the way. Hopefully everything won't go collapsing on me and I won't have to go setting things up again, but once we get back, we'll get into the figures at hand. And here they are in all their glory. So we have Splinter at the front, and we have the four, this is the Green Machine, or the Heroes in the Half Shell, whichever way you want to call the four turtles behind him, and then we have Shredder. So Shredder being the only villain on the set. He does seem to come with the most amount of weaponry. So he comes with these small tiny dagger punches, and then he comes with a katana sword. Now it is interesting, it's not the same katana that comes with the Leo figure. It is definitely a unique sword to him. It's a bit shorter than Leo's. The handle is a bit shorter. Blade itself is around the same length, but the actual handle is a shorter thing. And then he comes with a kind of smaller short dagger. I know it has a specific name. It's not a tonfa, it's not a, is it wakasaki, something along those lines. It's that seems like the right term for it, but I don't think it is. And then the smallest accessories he comes with these two throwing daggers, which he can fit just barely into his hand, but he does come with two of those small tiny throwing daggers. There is another throwing dagger in the set, which I believe is supposed to be Splinter's, or comes with the Splinter figure. He can just kind of hold it as well. Not great. I do believe it is the same mold as some of the throwing daggers that came with the remastered turtles. If I dig out their accessories, I think it is the same throwing star. As I make noises in the background, actually it is a different sculpt. Just having a look at my accessory bag that has all the accessories for those turtles. It does actually appear to be a different sculpting. Now, I will say, for the most part, nearly all of them come with kind of their signature weapons, with one exception, and that one exception is Raphael. We'll get into that in a second, but I'm just going to go through. Splinter does come with his walking stick with the hidden blade, which just slips off the rest of the walking stick, which is a nice look to it. He also comes with a two-part bow. So he comes with a bow and arrow. The arrow part clips in to the bow. The original figure came with a bow and arrow. In fact, the first ever Turtles figure I had was actually Master Splinter. So when the Turtles craze hit in 1988, one of our local stores, it wasn't really a toy store, it was more of a clothing store, as in like it sold well, it used to sell school uniforms and stuff like that, but it also sold material, like as in big rolls of material for people who wanted to do sewing and knitting and stuff like that. For some reason they managed to get in turtle figures. Maybe they were on to the rage that the turtles were causing. So when I went down, friends of mine and school had gotten some of the turtles there. When I went down, unfortunately the only turtle figure they had left was Splinter. They didn't have any of the Fab Four, the actual main guys, or even Shredder or the Foot Soldier. So I ended up with a Splinter figure. He wasn't too bad, but this guy is a little bit of an improvement, but also a little step back, and we'll get back into that when I get around to doing these individually. We'll continue with the weapons. So the accessories, so Shredder has all those accessories. From what I can tell, they're all packed for him. The Turtles have their signature weapons. In the case of Donnie has his bow staff. Leo has his 2 katana. Mikey has his nunchuck, or nunchuku, or nunchucks. He has his 1 stored. Now, they don't store really well on his back. And it's the same with the other version, the other release of him, the other remastered release. You can't push them all the way down. You probably can, but I fear breaking the backpack, or the back section. Donnie's bow staff does fit. So, the one exception to the rule where they have all their gear is Raph. Now, I'm going to bring in, because I have them here for a comparison. Well, I will be doing comparison later on with them. This is the first remastered Turtles. So you can see they did a paler green for Raph. They kind of went back to his more vibrant green. But you can see he has that, is it like a dagger punch weapon that the original figure came with that could store in his back. He was the only turtle that had, in the original lineup, that had that kind of extra weapon for some reason. None of the others, even though they came with like extra weapons, those sprue trees with all those little throwing stars and weird weapons, Raph was the only one that could store it. This guy has the same belt and same storage, whereas he doesn't come with one of those. So what I did was, because all the Turtles, I think nearly all of them, at least 3 of them anyway, have this dagger punch that comes with the accessory for this release, the first remastered release. I just grabbed one off that to complete Raph, to make him look a bit more complete. But if you are getting this set, Raph does not come with this. He comes like that. He just has the 2 sai on his front, or the twin sai for his front pockets or front holsters, but he does not come with the actual dagger punch piece that goes in his back. So I'm going to leave it there for now, but just bear in mind when I'm going through this review that they are pretty much complete except for that one accessory. So I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to dig out Shredder and go through his articulation. We'll try and go through them individually and we'll see how that goes. So starting with Oroku Saki, or the Shredder, or aka the Shredder, whichever way you want to do it. We'll have a look at him. I'll take this out of his hand so there's no skittering off into the great unknown. So first of all, we'll bring in the tape measure so you can see how tall he is. He does feel a little short from what I think he should be. So he does stand around 5 inches, thereabouts. Now, I'm going to do this out of the way first, because I do have a fairly beaten up, fairly rough original Shredder, and he is a pain in the butt to stand because of those weird positioned legs, but we'll try and get him to stand next to him. So here is the original Shredder. Come on, stand. Yeah, he doesn't want to stand. So there's the original Shredder next to that new Shredder. You can see he is smaller, but it's only because of his weirdly crouching position. But for the most part, he is not, well, I wouldn't say he's the same. The remaster one completely redoes this figure. But you can see him side by side. The head on this original figure is huge. The head on this remastered is shrunken. I'm not sure which one I prefer. I'm sure customizers out there, if they get a hand or hold of this figure, this head is just on a simple ball joint. You could potentially take this head off the original or make a cast of it and put it onto this body. It does look like it could be too big for it, but the original Shredder was really weirdly proportioned. So if I just bring the original Shredder in, you can see he has this weird hourglass almost shaped body. Like, it's very thin here where his waist is. He has these weird muscles all over him. The original figure is designed to have a cape, a purple cape, just like this one. It is a soft goods cape, and I think that is where the new one kind of falls down. Oh, that was quite naturally done. But this cape that's on him is fairly big, and it actually does make him a little back heavy. I think if they had gone a soft goods route, it would be better. It's easily fixable if you have some purple material lying around, or a nice purple, probably what, I wouldn't say velvet, or some sort of thick material. You could customize one. As I said, the head is just on a ball joint and this cape just pops off. So if I want to recreate how my original one looks, I can do it. So you can get him to stand a little better. So that is how my shredder would compare to my original shredder, with him being exactly the way he looks. But overall, I think he is a little bit weird. And don't get me wrong, I do like this figure. He's a good, interesting update, but we'll run through his articulation. We've already looked at his accessories. Now, it is worth noting that his only real grip hand for his swords is his right hand. The left hand does have a sort of grip hand to it, but it's in a kind of a strange position, which is why I believe it is designed for the throwing stars. Because I think that's the way the original shredder had those. He had those weird, again, he didn't have kind of standard grip hands. He had the kind of outstretched hand, and then he had that kind of weirdly, he had like two fingers up, kind of as if you could put a throwing star into his fingers. So I think that was why he has this weird hand. But articulation wise, again, as you said, he's on a ball joint. You get some good range of movement on the head. His eyes look kind of good, but also terrible. He looks like he is a deer in headlights for his head sculpt for the eyes. I really wish they did that thing where they've done it on some of the kind of more modern figures, where they put the little white dot for the iris or pupil thing in the corner. Makes the eyes look a little bit better. It doesn't look like he's dead staring you. So his arms can move up this much, can rotate around, but the cape does get in the way. If you have no cape on, obviously the arms will get around all together. You have the single elbow swivel with a hinge and a swivel in the wrist. Now, the swivel in the wrist is my kind of bone of contention with this. I do like the idea of the swivel in the wrist, but I think they should have kept it the same way as the original, where the swivel is actually back here on the before the elbow, because that way you can actually move the gauntlet blade with the wrist. Because he also has, if you notice on the new one, he has these purple bands that go around his hand, and it makes them pointless, because the whole idea of them is that they were attached to the blades on his wrists. That's why they were so close up to the hand itself, just behind the wrist. That's why those are there, and it just makes no sense that he has them on that. Again, he does have a waist swivel. His little belt band, it is interesting they didn't give him the purple trunks like the original one does, but his legs can kick forward. They're on a swivel, so they can rotate. So if you want to do the splits, you have to kind of rotate them out to the side, and then if you want them to be in seated, you rotate them forward. He has a single jointed knee with a swivel, and he just has those swivel ankles, and he does have peg holes on the bottom of the feet. The one other down point, I think, of this figure, now I don't know if it's a design for health and safety, for, you know, safety standards, but if you look at the blades, and like the spikes on the original and the blades on the arm gauntlets, they look way more menacing. You have 3 blades on this. You have these ones on the shoulders that point out a bit more. These ones are more drooped. Even the ones on the knee ones are more drooped. These ones, the ones on the original, are more pointed. I think they should have gone with that as well. Now, I do believe there is a single card release for Shredder coming out, so we'll just have to wait and see if they if it's the exact same figure, just this one was repacked in a multi-box, or if it's slightly changed and has more of the original nods to it, like that weird eyebrow helmet thing going on. Because I believe in the promo pictures they had the eyebrow helmet, but it could be wrong. They could have changed it last minute to this figure, so I'll just have to wait and see if that one comes out as is. So we'll get on to Splinter next, and then we'll go through the turtles. So we'll have a look at Splinter, the Radical Rat. He is a pretty cool figure, and he has some really cool engineering compared to the Turtles and Shredder. So we'll just do his height first. So he does stand roughly around 4, just a bit, maybe tip over 4 inches. So he's quite small. I think that's even with his legs fully extended. Let me see if we can extend his legs a bit more, because unlike the Turtles, let's see if we move his tail as well. Oop, tail just pops off. Move his tail just below his legs. He's walking stick in place. I think that's a bit taller. Let's put his legs fully extended. Just bring the tape measure back in. Yeah, so he's just under 5 inches. So again, with the original version of Splinter, he was, the most part, a rat figure with a soft goods cloak. So if you're familiar with the original one, you'll know what he looks like. If you're unfamiliar with the original one, I can help you out. So this is what the original Splinter figure looked like. Now this is one that I got in a lot, so this is not my original one. But the whole idea with this figure is that he came with a soft goods version of this purple fuchsia robe, or pink fuchsia, whichever color you want to call it, robe, that would just go around him, just similar in vein to Shredder, where he had the purple cloak. And then you have his weapons and gear. He didn't have any painted in eyes, but that was kind of the standard for the Turtles, for the heroes. All the Turtles didn't have painted in eyes. And then you have, you can see his feet are fairly massive just to help him stand, and then the tail will also work as counterbalance. He did come with a bow weapon similar to this, and he also came with the walking stick weapon similar to the new one as well. But as you can see, he's not that far off the original height-wise. He's actually fairly close to the original in height. So they did keep the scaling quite close. He just looks quite different. So we'll move him out of the way. It very much looks like they took cues from the cartoon version of Splinter on this. He looks very similar to the cartoon sketches or drawings, or whichever way you want to call it. He doesn't look too close to the toy. He looks, as I said, more like the cartoon. What's interesting is his articulation is good. Sure, we'll get into the articulation first, actually, and then I'll get into some of my nitpicks with this figure, and we'll go from there. So articulation wise, he is similar to Shredder. His head is on a ball joint. He doesn't get great side to side or tilt or anything like that, but he can rotate his head all the way around if you want. His arms can go up that much for T-pose. These ones can rotate all the way around because it's not hindered by the cloak on the back. He has a single elbow joint with a swivel, and then he has elbow joint swivel, and he has swiveling wrists. Now the bottom of his robes do get in the way they're sculpted occasionally for when he's trying to hold his weapons, so it is a bit annoying that way. Does he have waist swivel? In fact, he doesn't have waist swivel. It's one of the few points he doesn't have compared to the others. He does have an articulation point in his tail, which is just plugged in. It is pre-assembled when he comes. He can kick forward, but he is hindered by this skirt piece. He does have single jointed knees with a swivel. And here's one thing people were screaming out for before they released Turtles, and when they saw the promo images and when they were released, they were hoping this new set might have upgraded it. He actually has rocker ankle joints on the feet, so he has some great poses on his feet, unlike the Turtles. So you can actually do some kicks and stuff like that. Obviously you can't, he probably wouldn't be able to hold the pose doing kicks, but he can do kicks. It is interesting to note that he does have a little bit more articulation points than the Turtles. Again, he comes with those 3 weapons. His hidden blade walking stick, which can fit quite nicely into either hand. He does come with the bow, with the arrow. It does kind of fit in his hand, but you have to get his hand out of the way of the edge of his robe, so you can get him to hold it. And then he comes with that kind of large throwing star. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any weapon storage, like as similar with Shredder. Shredder doesn't have any weapon storage, unlike the Turtles themselves, where you could put their signature weapons on them. Technically, you could say his walking stick is weapon storage when he's holding it, but he doesn't have any place to put it on his back or anything like that. But overall, it's a nice, not bad figure. But I think they did drop the ball a bit. I would have loved to have seen them do the figure more closely to this, in the sense of having it with the kind of whole wrap body with that articulation in this, and having this as a soft goods accessory that would tie over it like the original one, and that would give it a good more range of movement, because this wouldn't be hindered on the skirting area or any of the other bits. So it is a good figure for what it is, but I think it could have been just that bit more better if they had gone the soft goods route with not having sculpted arms, because then you're kind of, if you take this body piece off, because this is actually a separate piece that's over a book or some sort of book, which would mean that if you took this off and you wanted to put a soft goods cloak on, you could, but you're going to be hindered with having the sculpted arms underneath it. So again, they could have done a little bit better. It's not a bad figure, it is quite good for what it is, but I think they could have just pushed that to a little bit more to get a better figure. So we'll go through all 4 Turtles in one go, because I've done the review for the first remastered version, so I'm going to try and do it as quick as possible. So, and they're pretty much the same figure, just with different gear. So here is all 4 Turtles with their remastered 1988 remastered counterparts. So these are the first ones that they released, the ones that are in front, and you can see the color differences. So for Raph, they went more with his classic kind of more vibrant green. With Mikey, they went kind of back with that slightly darker green. For Donnie, they went back to the kind of more olive drab green that he has. The remastered one looks more brown than green. Then for Leo, again, they went with more kind of brighter version of this dark green. It's more vibrant, it's a little bit more vibrant, it pops a bit more. Same with the chests. You can see the chests on the new ones are a lot more yellow than a kind of the orange tint, or the yellowy orange tint that the first versions have. Again, signature weapons are the exact same across the board. They have the exact same, like he has the chain, Raph has the same red, except with the exception of, well, his reds are actually brighter. Mikey's knee pad on this one, on my one, is a bit faded because it has some bleed on it. The purple for Donnie is a bit more vibrant, so the wrap on his bow staff is actually interesting because it's actually different. The bow staff wrap on the original one is more brighter purple, and they kind of match the color for the figure for the new one. And then for Leo, his katana blades, I believe, have the same blue. They're actually, no, there's a slightly brighter blue on the first version remaster. The other one's a little bit more muted, which is more in key to the blue that he has on him currently. And then another thing to note, and it's interesting because it's the only figure I have from the original. Here is original Donnie. This is the original, way back in the day, original Donnie. So as you can see, for both Donnie and Leo, the first people were complaining that they messed up the heads. So Donnie now has his proper head back, which is this mouth with the 2 side pieces, or the teeth gritting on both sides, whereas Leo only had it on one side because he was a mirror of Mikey's head, basically. So Mikey has his teeth gritting on his right side, whereas Leo has them gritting on his left. But they had swapped them around for Donnie and Mikey in the other ones. They've swapped them back this time around, so they now have the proper heads. So we'll go through articulations. Turtles are exactly the same across the board, as Mikey falls flat on his face. So arms can rotate around. You have a single jointed elbow with a swivel in the wrists, ball jointed heads, so you can get some good side and up and down. You have that same kind of T or weird knee junction or knee joint that the shredder has. So you can go out, you have to rotate it side to side to get it seated, and then you have a single jointed knee with swivel, and you have swivel in the feet, and then peg holes in the bottom of the feet. So if you have those previous versions, these ones, they did come with these kind of more unique weapons as well. They can wield those weapons if you have them. I just have Donnie's one here just for showcase. But if you have those guys with the weapons, they will fit. And similar, the rooftop display base that came with these guys will fit on no problem. And if you have some interesting old school vehicles like the turtle van, you can fit these guys in the turtle van, on the turtle bike, which I will put links to in my video below, because I did reviews for those and have these versions of them on it. So but you can actually mix and match. And I have one other thing I want to showcase, so bear with me. I'm just going to bring it in, move things aside, bring it in, and show it off that what you can put with these guys as well. My bad, there's actually two things I wanted to showcase with these guys and not just one. So one of which is this, which is the cheapskate. This is the original cheapskate. So the whole idea was that you had a little kick foot button on the back that would knock people over. You would flip around. You can fit one of these remastered figures on it. The only difference is the peg holes, the feet won't fit the peg holes, so you can actually still position them so that they're not on the peg holes, which is quite handy. And then for the other figure, this is Raphael's mutabike. So I won't do the transformation for it, but he can fit on it in both versions. So as you can see, he's on it in this version, and I got this one secondhand from Uncanny Collectibles, and I don't believe I got this one from Uncanny Collectibles, but I did pick up some other turtle stuff from them as well. But it is cool to see that you can fit some of the vintage vehicles and vintage. I'm hoping when that classics remastered or classics version sewer playset drops, it's already out in the States, but I'm hoping to try and get my hand on it. They should fit with that no bother as well. So all in all, this is a really good set. I'm going to throw a link in the description below to Uncanny Collectibles for where I got this, and I'll also throw a link in the description to the Target site for the 6-pack. Now I did have to order this online and ship it to, we have a thing here called AddressPal, which is like a proxy shipping address. So basically for stores and sites that only ship within the US, it ships it to them, and then for a surcharge it posts it on to me, and then you pay fees and whatnot and what have you. But I did have to get them that way because I don't know if they're going to be released over here in Europe or in Ireland anywhere, at least. Europe they might get released, but I haven't seen anything to convey that they will. But overall, it is a great set. So thank you for watching all this all the way through. Hopefully it didn't bore you, and hopefully you found something entertaining from this. And if you did, please hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And as always, have a great day wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this.